So in this video, I'll show you how to recover a recipient's inbox using a recovery database. But before I do that, I just want you to check a few things on your own server to make sure you're set up. So in preparation for this demo, I've set up an E drive and a G drive. And on this E drive is where I'm going to store or have stored the mailbox database. And it's important that the mailbox database be on its own volume because you have to perform a backup of the entire volume and you have to restore the entire volume. So if you don't want to back up the entire operating system, for instance, just to recover a 300 megabyte database. So hence the E drive for the mailbox database. And I have this other G drive. Windows Server Backup requires a separate volume to store the backups. So this is an empty volume, and that's where I will back up the database to. Alright, so I have that already set up, and I've created the mailbox database. And this mailbox database, if I take a look at the settings, so that opens up, you can see that the database path is the E drive mdb2 and mdb2.edb. Log files are also stored there. Jumble my words out. Okay, so this is the database and the log files, all in the one folder. Okay, I've also gone ahead and I've installed the Windows Server Backup. So I've gone here to add roles and features, and at the bottom somewhere here is Windows Server Backup. Oh, right here. Okay, so I have that installed. You also need to open up your services and go to the Microsoft Exchange locations where all the services related to Exchange are, and look for the server extension for Windows Server Backup. Okay, so Microsoft Exchange server extension for Windows Server Backup. That's set to manual by default. I've set that to automatic. As long as it's set to automatic, it's fine. You can run it or not, but you have to change it from manual to automatic. Okay, so I have the database. I have the database on a separate volume. I have another volume to store the backups. I have Windows Server Backup installed, and I have the backup extensions installed. Okay, the next thing you would have to do is create a user account and store that user's mail on that database. So you actually have something to recover. Okay, so I have a recipient that I created called Joe User. And Joe User is storing his mail on MDB2. Okay, so you have to have a recipient that stores mail on that database. So I'll send Joe an email. Okay, send Joe an email. And I open Chrome just so I can have a separate login without having to log off and log on IE. And there it is, test2, hello. So I've received the email from administrator. There's Joe's inbox. And what I'd like to do is back up these emails and then restore them, but restore them to another folder down here, like recovered emails or something like that. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do the backup. Here, open Windows Server Backup, so do backup once. Hello, backup once. Okay. There we go. There's different options. I don't want to do a full server. I'll do custom. Add the items. I'll back up the entire MDB volume. You can go under the advanced and change it to full. I'm just going to leave it with the defaults. And local drive, I'll store it to the backup volume. Okay, so I accepted all the defaults. The only thing that I've selected is to back up the entire MDB volume. Do backup. This shouldn't take very long, really. Okay, so 400 megs. Look at that. Completed. All right. So the backup's completed. Now, the database is currently mounted, right? I'm able to send and receive emails. That database is in use, it's mounted. Right. So there's potentially some messages in memory. Some of them have been committed to the database, but it's in an inconsistent state. The database is only consistent when it's dismounted, and all changes from in the log files are then committed to the database. But until it's dismounted, it's in an inconsistent state. So when you do the backup that you have is also inconsistent. So when we restore them, it's important to check to see if they're in what's called a dirty shutdown. And so if they are, they have to be in a clean state before they will mount. And this will become very important to you when you're trying to recover the database. Okay, so let's say we have this backup. We have it backed up. Joe user comes along and says he wants access to some message that's in his inbox, and you say, great, no problem. I'll just stop what I'm doing and I'll recover the entire database so I can access your one message item. So let's do recover. Recover, there we go. The server right now. And choose application restore. Okay, so this is tied in with Exchange. You do an entire volume backup, you get the application restore. And you want to restore Exchange. But you want to recover it to a different location. So let's take a look. I'm just going to use the same volume that I'm using for my backups. And I'll create a new folder, like MDB to recover, something like that. MDB2 is the name of the database that I'm recovering. Let's call it MDB2 recover. And next, cover. Oh, that was fast. Okay, so just take a look here. What we've got, MDB2 recover, and string of characters, E, MDB2. So I don't want to put in that entire path when I set this up. I'm just going to move these files just so I don't have to put that entire path in. Okay, so now the database and the log files are all just in G MDB2 recover. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is open Exchange Management Shell. You could just use PowerShell for this, but I'll use the Management Shell. And my current working directory is Windows System 32, so I need to change that. So I want to go to the G drive, And I want to set the location to MDB2 recover. And if I get the child items in this directory, I can see all the log files and the EDB file are here. And I'll use ESE util. And I want to check the message headers for mdb2.edb. And when I take a look at these and I scroll up, you can see that this is currently in the state of being in a dirty shutdown. Okay, so the dirty shutdown state's no good for us. Right? So we need to bring that to a clean shutdown state. And to do that, you want to use ESUtil again, /r. And the reason why I did another directory listing is to take a look at what the log files begin with. And they begin with E01. And start with that. And it's the log files, so L. And the directory where the log files are stored is mdb2 recover. And directory, D, G, mdb2 recover. Okay. The log files and the EDB file are in the same directory, so that's why it looks this way. If the log files are in a different directory, this first path here is what you would want to point to the log files. So it could be different, but in mine I have the same directory for both. So there you go. And that finished. I just want to bring up the message headers again and see if it worked. And it did. It's in a clean shutdown state. Okay, so now that it's in a clean shutdown state, I can create the recovery database for Exchange and point to the location of this database, right? So I want to create a recovery database in Exchange. That's the configuration for it. And I want to use this database at this path. Okay, so I would put in something like new mailbox database. And I want it to be marked as a recovery database. Actually, first let's get mailbox database. Okay, so there's currently no recovery databases. They're all set to false. So I'll put in new mailbox database, create a recovery database, and I'll give it a name, MDB2 recovery database. I'll just use a slightly different name just to point out that the folder paths and the names, they don't necessarily have to match up. Not for the name of the database. This path, the next path that I'm going to put in for the EDB file path has to be right, and this is Exchange 1. So this path here, EDB file path was G MDB2 recover. That's where the log file or the EDB file is. Right, so the path to the EDB file and to where the log folders are. So log folder path is also in G MDB2 recover. Okay, so new mailbox database is marked for recovery. The name is MDB2 RDB on this server. This is the path to the existing mailbox database that's in a clean shutdown state and that I've recovered, right? And this is where the log folders, where the log files are. So I enter. It says it was created. Database must be brought into a clean shutdown state before it can be mounted. So we've already done that. It says to restart the information store. So I'll restart service, MS Exchange, IS. And there's an E there. Okay. Just give that a moment. It's done. So we'll mount database MDB2 RDB and hope that it works. All right, so get mailbox database. Okay, so if MDB2 set as a recovery database, get the mailbox statistics for that database. And Joe user's in there, 12 item count. So that's good. It sees the recipient, sees that he has some items that could be recovered. So to recover those items out of this recovery database and place them in the mounted actual database so that Joe can get at them, we perform a mailbox restore request. So new, actually let's make sure there aren't any currently. And if you've done this lab more than once, you might have a leftover configuration. So we don't have any. It's good. If there was, then you would want to get and pipe that to remove. So a new mailbox restore request. And the source database will be the one that we've just recovered. So the MDB2 RDB is the name of the recovery database. And out of that recovery database, you'll have a source store mailbox. And you can put quotes. And what you want to do is match this name up. So I have a display name as Joe User. I'm going to recover Joe User as the source mailbox. And then the target mailbox could be anybody, but I'm going to use Joe User. And Exchange is smart enough to recognize that there's the actual recipient that's in a mounted mailbox database and place the items there. You don't have to specify the actual database, just the recipient. And the target root folder that I will use will be something like recovered emails, for instance. Okay, so there should be this new recovered emails folder within his inbox. I think I have this right. New mailbox restore request. The source, MDB2 RDB, source store mailbox, Joe User, targets, Joe User. Okay, so let's go with that. And it's queued. Now you wait. So get mailbox restore request. It's queued. Still queued. All right. So there should be a recovered emails folder show up here when this is done. Yep. This is when you would start Googling, why isn't this working? Things can just take time. I think I've done everything right. So we'll just wait. Normally I would crop these parts out of the videos, but I know you guys will be sitting there wondering why it's not working for yourselves. Come on, Exchange. Don't fail me now. Doubt creeps in with time. In progress. Completed. Well, there. What was that? Felt like forever. It's probably 3 or 4 minutes. I don't know. Okay, so that completed. Now let's go back to the browser, and you can see there's recovered emails that wasn't there before. I'm going to click on recovered emails. There's nothing. Let's refresh. Okay, so there's recovered emails, and I can expand it. There's the inbox, and there's the messages. So the whole idea is that maybe Joe went ahead and deleted this message, for instance. So it's not in his inbox. He asks you to set up a method to recover those items. He can then go to the inbox and drag and drop and get his messages back. And once they're back, he can go ahead and get rid of all of this. And he's back, right? And for us on the server side, we would go back to the server. And since we have this mailbox restore request that's completed, we can remove those. Sure. And since that's done, you would also want to take a look at your mailbox databases. And the recovery database is there, so you'd want to get rid of that. And it tells you, although the configuration is removed, the files will remain. But the recovery database is gone. And then I can clean up the file system by getting rid of this recovered database. And that's it. That's all there is to it. Thanks for watching and good luck.